Overlook Horizon High Altitude Balloons, an Ontario County nonprofit.
This is no ordinary balloon.
What a view!
Over 110,000 feet.
This is incredible.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch.
Hey guys, Tori here from Overlook Horizon, coming to you live today to wrap up a super busy day, long day, and we got a little something new going on here, a little changing it up a little bit. We're gonna see if this works out, see if this is any good, or see if it works out all right. Got some new background imagery here, and we'll see how this turns out. So anyways, we're here live. We got a SpaceX launch happening tonight. This is on the East Coast here for Merah Putih, which means red and white in Indonesian. This is an Indonesian satellite, commercial communication satellite that's launching today. And red and white, I believe, are the colors of the flag for Indonesia. So yeah, this is Merah Putih, formerly called Telkom-4, which is what SpaceX will be launching tonight on board a Falcon 9 Block 5 booster. And not just any Block 5 booster, this is a reused Block 5 booster. The first time we've seen a reflight of a Block 5 booster. This Block 5 booster previously flew the Bangabandhu mission. I think that was back in, what, May was it? They had said, I didn't expect to see this turn around quite this fast, but they had said that they were basically going to, they were going to strip that whole thing down, analyze it, make sure that everything worked well for the new Block 5 variant, because Bangabandhu, if you recall, was the very first Block 5 booster ever flown, and so this is now the first reflight of the first Block 5 booster. So we're going to see flight number 2 for this. And also a little bit unusual, in the past with a lot of the Block 4s or previous versions, they'd recover it once, and then the second time they would expend it, because those boosters are only meant to be used twice, but Block 5s are meant to be used 10 or more times. So they are also going to be performing a recovery attempt today on the autonomous spaceport drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, out in the Atlantic. So that is happening today. So this is going to be a second recovery attempt for this booster as well. So got a lot happening here. So and it's been a crazy busy day today. We had our flight happen early this morning. Overlook Horizon 15 and the Space Lobster flew to 100,000 feet earlier during the day today, and we had a tough recovery trying to get the Space Lobster to cooperate and come down out of the tree. But nevertheless, we got him down. We were able to convince him to come down out of the tree and wrap up our mission, just with a little bit of time to spare, enough for me to get a little nap in before this broadcast. And then we'll wrap up this busy day here. So it should be a relatively quick one here today. And we'll get to, let me get to what's happening here today. But before we do that, let me see some comments coming in. I see Gregorius says chroma key. Yep, we're trying the chroma key here. Mostly, it's not so much, I don't really care about the background that's going on here, but when we get to the SpaceX broadcast, I feel like I'm more out of the way. If I chroma key myself out, it's easier to see more of the SpaceX stuff so that I'm out of the way. I don't know. We'll see if it works. I kind of liked it in testing. We'll see what happens. You let me know if it's stupid or you like it. So anyway, and Pony's, let's see, Pony said congrats on the Space Lobster launch today. Alex says, ooh, Tori looks a little sleepy. Tori is a little sleepy. I am doing my best to keep my eyes open. I'm going to do the whole broadcast like this, just wide-eyed as possible. Yeah, Tori is definitely sleepy. It took everything I had to try to wake myself up for this particular one, because I was not running on much sleep to begin with, and then we had a pretty tough day. My hands are super raw from we're doing so much today trying to get the space lobster out of the tree. So it took everything I had to get myself out of bed to come do this broadcast here. So yeah, it was a rough one today. And then I also see a whole bunch of comments coming through on Periscope as well. A couple people getting dizzy from the intro video, so apologies about that. And a couple that are in languages that I don't speak, so I'm going to have a hard time responding to those. But I see your comments all coming through, so if you have any questions during the whole thing, send them over. I'll try to answer them the best I can. But let's see what's happening for today. Let's get over to some of the details we have going on. So, in case you haven't watched one of my videos in the past, basically the way this is going to work is I'm going to have here. Let's switch over to this. I'm going to have the SpaceX broadcast up and running here. They're not live yet, but they will be in probably a little under 10 minutes. Usually at about the T-minus 15 minute mark is when they go live. We might see the SpaceX intro slate, the intro video start probably in about 3 minutes here. And then they'll go live in about 8 minutes from now. But for the most part, we'll listen in. We'll see what they have to say. We'll comment on it. We'll see what comes up, if there's any questions or anything special going on today. But we got a little bit of special happening today, with especially it being the reflights of this Block 5 booster, which is pretty exciting. So this is our mission patch here today for Merah Putih. I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it, but I'm really digging the mission patches that SpaceX is coming up with the last couple missions. They're getting pretty awesome looking, and this one is no exception to that. I really do like this one. I don't know, that's a good one for me. Let's see. A couple of quick stats for today. 66th SpaceX launch overall, the 60th Falcon 9 launch overall. It's the 36th SpaceX launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, SLC 40. That's Space Launch Complex 40. That's the one that I actually got to walk up to and watch the NASA test mission launch from, was SLC 40. It's not their big, massive launch pad that they use for Falcon Heavy, or that were the shuttle or Apollo missions used, but it's two launch pads south of 39A, which is kind of one of those big iconic shuttle launch pads. So this is a little smaller launch pad, but it works well for the Falcon 9. They launch a lot of rockets from SLC 40. This is the 14th Falcon 9 launch for this year, the 15th SpaceX launch for this year. So SpaceX is doing, they're launching these flights pretty regularly now. They're starting to get to the point where they're getting to be about 2 per month. But last year they did, I think it was 17 launches total for the entire year. This is number 15, and we're only in August. So they are cranking them out this year. And then, as I mentioned, the second journey of the flight-proven Block 5 booster B1046.2. The .2 just meaning this is flight number 2 for booster number 1046. So, yeah, and Pony said it has the 4-leaf clover too. That's on the mission patch. Yeah, we had talked about that in the last broadcast. All the SpaceX patches have been putting that 4-leaf clover on it since their 3rd or 4th flight. I think maybe it was their 4th. I think it was their 4th flight ever. They just threw one of those 4-leaf clovers on the mission patch for that, and it actually was their first successful orbital flight. And so all their mission patches have that 4-leaf clover thrown in there somewhere for good luck. Let's see. Oh, you could probably hear it actually. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. We'll keep it just slightly in the background, but the SpaceX broadcast is up. They haven't started yet, but we will switch over momentarily. Let me see. Hello, Sci Social. Hello, it says hello, everyone. Hello, Sci Social. Thanks for joining us on the Periscope. So, all right, let me get back to my what we were talking about here. Timeline-wise today, this is a little on the shorter side for a timeline. It's shorter to begin with because it's a Block 5 booster. So the Block 5 boosters, they don't even start the fueling process until T-minus 35 minutes, which is a lot later in the count compared to Block 4. Block 4, you started RP1 loading, which is your rocket propellant, your kerosene-grade rocket propellant, or your rocket-grade kerosene, rather. That used to start at T-minus 70 minutes, but now with Block 4, they're doing a much faster fueling process, so that doesn't actually start till T-minus 35 minutes, and really they don't do anything for fueling up until T-minus 35 minutes, which is probably good for them. Makes it a little stressful for me starting the broadcast, because usually you look for that go, no go at propellant loading to decide whether they're really going to make a launch attempt today, because they generally, if there's a small issue that they're working and they don't think it's going to fly today, they won't push on to propellant loading because it's a huge pain to load propellant and then detank, especially if they have to, even if they're going to scrub or push it, an hour down the line. A lot of times when they're using these super chilled cryogenic liquids here, it takes too long for them to refuel or to empty the tanks and refuel, and it's a lot harder to suspend the mission or just push it slightly down the road versus if they would have done that before they started the fueling process. I'm talking like if they had to delay it by an hour or something like that. A lot harder to do that once you started propellant loading. So let's see. So anyways, timeline-wise, so we are into propellant loading here now because our launch is scheduled for 1:18 a.m. Eastern Time. It is exactly 1 o'clock Eastern Time, so we're 18 minutes away from launch. But they're doing the liquid oxygen and RP1, the rocket-grade kerosene. Both are being loaded into the Falcon 9 right now. That is happening. So we're in good shape, looking like we're going to have an on-time launch today. I haven't heard of any major issues so far that is being tracked. So hopefully that will hold up all the way up to that 1:18 launch. It is a 2-hour launch window. Really hope they don't take advantage of that 2-hour launch window, because a little tired from our flight today. Not going to lie. Hoping for a short one today. So yeah, we'll get all the way down to T0. We'll have liftoff. We get max Q, first stage cutoff and separation. We'll get separation, fairing deployment. Remember, we're on the East Coast. They're not going to do a fairing recovery attempt, although they do have some support ships out there, so I guess I shouldn't say they're not going to do a recovery attempt. The fairing's going to land in the water. And they're going to likely pick up whatever survives the water landing. They will pick it up and bring it back to Port Canaveral, but there's no big Mr. Steven boat with a big net that's going to try to catch it. That boat is on the West Coast, only does West Coast launches, so no fairing catch attempt today. But they will, the support ships usually do pick up the fairing and bring it back to port, whatever's left of it. A lot of times they get most of it, but on the last, I think it was the last launch, it looked like they only got like half a fairing back. So anyways, after fairing deployment, we get the first stage entry burn. That comes in, the landing's going to happen at about 8 minutes into the flight, and then we're going to go. The second stage is going to go on, and we're going to have satellite deployment at about just under 32 minutes. And so we'll run the broadcast all the way up to the that T plus 32 minute mark, and then we'll wrap it up and call it a day, and we'll see if it all works out. And likely what we're going to do in between. So if you didn't follow our flight earlier, Overlook Horizon 15, we had our high altitude flight earlier today with the Space Lobster. The Space Lobster survived, and since you guys are all joining me here at this late night SpaceX launch here, we'll probably do a little preview footage to see what we captured today. We've got some of the videos here, and we can check out what we captured from our flight earlier today while we wait for, because we're going to have a long coast period. It's about 20 minutes after the active, or when the the second stage shuts down, we'll have about a 20-minute coast phase there. So while we're waiting on that 20-minute coast phase, we'll look at some of the Space Lobster footage from today's flight. All right, let's switch this up here, and I will get myself out of the way. Let's see, and yeah, it looks like SpaceX is starting the stream, so that's a good sign for hopefully an on-time launch today. Always like to see that. They usually don't start the broadcast if they're not going to go. So hopefully we've got about right on the dot, 15 minutes to go.
Good evening from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. It is August 6th at 10:04 p.m. here and 1:04 a.m. local time at Slick 40 in Cape Canaveral, Florida. You are looking at a live view of the Falcon 9 awaiting its 1:18 a.m. Eastern Time launch. My name is Lauren Lyons, and I'm an engineer in our Flight Reliability Department here at SpaceX, and I am pleased to welcome you to tonight's webcast of the Merah Putih satellite launch for our customer, PT Telkom Indonesia. Now, tonight's launch is the 15th by SpaceX this year and is a reflight of our first ever Block 5 rocket. We're going to attempt recovery of the first stage on our drone ship of view. Waters off the coast of Florida. If we're successful today, this is going to be our 28th successful recovery of a stage 1 booster. Tonight's launch window is 2 hours long, but we are shooting for the very top of that window, and we are currently at just under T-minus 13 minutes and counting.
Yeah, so there we are. We see a little bit of venting going on. That's the liquid oxygen venting off. That is completely normal. So you're
looking at a live view of the Falcon on pad 40. Falcon 9 is a 2-stage rocket standing 70 meters tall, which is greater than the wingspan of a 747 aircraft. The first stage, which is the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle, is our booster stage, and it, along with the 9 Merlin engines on the bottom of it, does the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up into the thinner parts of Earth's atmosphere. Now, you can kind of see it from this image here, but do you see all that dark soot that's on the rocket? That's because this booster has been flown before. This is the first ever Block 5 booster, and it supported the Bangabandhu Satellite 1 mission just over 12 weeks ago. The Block 5 upgrades allow Falcon 9 to be reused 10 times or more with minimal refurbishment between each launch. And today, we will attempt this booster's second recovery. Now, right on top of stage 1 is our second stage, which has with it a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine. This is the engine that ignites after the first stage separates. The second stage is what will carry the Merah Putih satellite to its geostationary transfer orbit. Now, on the very top of the rocket, as you can see here, this conical structure, this is the payload fairing, and safely encapsulated within it, the Merah Putih satellite. This is what protects the payload from aerothermal loads and heating and contamination upon ascent. However, once you reach that vacuum of space, we're going to jettison the fairing as stage 2 continues its journey to orbit. Note that we will not be attempting recovery of the fairing today, as the recovery vessel, Mr. Stephen, is out on the West Coast. Now, this large white truss structure that you see on the back of the rocket, this is the transporter erector, or TE, as you may hear it called out on the nets. We use it to roll the rocket out to the pad from the hangar and to raise it to its vertical launch position. The TE also routes the vehicle's fluids, power, AC systems, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and satellite up until Falcon 9 goes on internal power and clears the pad. At liftoff, the TE will retract, clearing the way for Falcon 9's ascent.
Yeah, so we're about 10 minutes here. It's nice to see this nice and clear. No fog today. The last launch we had so much fog out at Vandenberg, you couldn't even see the rocket, but looking good today. So you can see, we started talking earlier, at the very top there's an active liquid oxygen vent. That's what we're looking at right there with the
Falcon 9 rolled to the pad with the Merah Putih payload early Monday morning and went vertical roughly at 12:30 p.m. local time. The launch director conducted the go-no-go poll for prop load at T-1 hour, and we began loading propellants at T-minus 35 minutes. Speaking of those propellants, Falcon 9 is a bipropellant rocket. It uses kerosene, or RP1, for its fuel, and liquid oxygen as its oxidizer. And to complete that fire triangle, Falcon 9 uses TTEB as its igniter fluid, which we'll see at T0 via that telltale green spark that you'll see right before the rocket takes off.
I do like to look for that T-tab. That's the, like she said, the green spark that you'll see just before the engines ignite. Especially on a night launch like this, a lot of times it's really easy to see that green, the green flash of the T-tab.
Fuel load is currently full on stage 1 and stage 2. Liquid oxygen load is about 90% complete on stage 1 and just over halfway complete on stage 2. Now, once both tanks are full, those stages will continue to be topped off with propellants until T-minus 2 minutes in order to keep those temperatures as cold as possible. Low temperatures lead to a denser propellant, which allows us to fit even more propellant into the tanks of the rocket. In addition to the RP-1 and liquid oxygen aboard, Falcon 9 also uses helium in order to keep the tanks pressurized in flight and the propellant flowing correctly into the engines to prevent any air bubbles or gases from entering the engines as the propellants deplete. Helium load began before the webcast went live today, but it's going to continue to be topped off until about a minute and a half before launch. Additionally, engine chill procedures have begun, and this is where we open up those pre-valves between the first stage prop tanks and the 9 Merlin engines. What this does is it allows a little bit of that cold liquid oxygen to flow into the turbo pumps, bringing them down to a temperature close to that of the super chill propellant that will soon be flowing through the engines at liftoff. The vehicle is healthy right now. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues. The payload went on internal power at T-minus 15 minutes, and we're hearing the payload is healthy, and the weather is looking really good for an on-time launch today. The last weather balloon that was launched is showing that everything is within wind limits. We're not violating any of the cloud rules, and things are looking really good for an on-time launch today. Additionally, the range remains green for launch, and as of right now, all systems are go.
Awesome, good to hear. We're looks like we're on track for a launch here in just under 8 minutes. TB2 on Periscope says, where are we launching to? So this satellite is going to the final destination is geostationary orbit.
The Merah Putih satellite being launched on today's Falcon 9 is for our customer PT Telkom Indonesia, the largest telecommunications and network provider in the country.
Come back to that.
Merah Putih, which translated in Indonesian to red and white, is a reference to the colors of the Indonesian national flag. This satellite will play an important role in enhancing telephone and internet service for Indonesia's 17,000 islands, particularly for remote areas as well as other parts of South and Southeast Asia. The satellite is built by satellite manufacturer SSL and has 60 C-band transponders. It's going to be placed at 108 degrees east in geostationary orbit. The satellite will expand the company's coverage to new markets and complement other technologies such as fiber and submarine cable. PT Telkom Indonesia has put together a video about their operations that we'll show you right now.
I've got to gotta mute the audio here anytime they get these musical clips here, just for copyright reasons. I'm gonna see. Yeah, we'll let this. They've got some music playing in the background. I don't wanna risk getting a copyright strike from YouTube. YouTube freaks out a lot when they have the music playing in the background. So, anyway, somebody asked, where is this going? As she mentioned, the end destination is geostationary orbit. But the Falcon 9 is not going to actually put Merah Putih in the geostationary orbit directly. Falcon 9 is putting the satellite into geostationary transfer orbit, which is an elliptical orbit that basically oscillates between low Earth orbit and geostationary orbit, and then the satellite itself will circularize that out at geostationary orbit. So Falcon 9, when it releases it, puts it in that transfer orbit, and then the satellite itself will use its own onboard thrusters to circularize and get itself into the final destination orbit. That's pretty typical. That's what most communication satellites will do. So yeah, the Falcon 9 won't put it directly into geostationary orbit. And we'll look. We can look at. We've got a diagram that we can look at too, as far as what those different orbits look like. So after launch, if I remember, we could take a look at that so you can visualize what I'm talking about. Alex on YouTube says during the music you should have dancing lobsters. That's we need something to fill here while they're playing these videos with the music behind here, because I can't do it. I mean, some of them work, some of them don't, but it's just not worth the risk to play the music and upset the YouTube powers that be. Once they see that audio on there, then they start yelling at me for having copyrighted audio. So, let's see. Where is this launching from? Yeah, this is in Florida. This is at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. SLC 40 is what it's called. Space Launch Complex 40 or Pad 40. So this is basically on the East Coast here in Florida. Early morning launch here on the East Coast. So. Let's see. I love night launches, says Travis VW1. I like night launches too, and especially, your next comment said it's a clear night. I was going to say, especially, it seems to be very clear tonight, which will be awesome for launch. I love when you get a clear launch or clear night launch like this. That looks fantastic. So I think they're about done with this music here. I can turn the volume back up.
Are currently 3 minutes and 35 seconds away from liftoff, and Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of the countdown. The first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. The first stage should complete its loading at T-minus 3 minutes, and the second stage will finish its topping off at T-minus 2 minutes. At the T-minus 60-second mark, listen in closely for the announcement that Falcon 9 is in startup, which means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The Merah Putih payload continues to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. The weather is looking beautiful, and the range is green for launch. So as we near that T0 mark, let's listen in to the countdown net.
Yeah, so now we're coming into it, and now lately they've been... I've got the volume cranked today. The volume seems kind of low on the broadcast today. Not sure why it is so low, but they lately have had some pretty awesome launch pad microphones to capture all the sounds and the venting happening at the pad itself. So that's pretty exciting. So yeah, we're only just 2 minutes away. TB2 said, will this be visible from the Bahamas? I bet there's a chance you probably could see that, especially once it gets, I don't know, I guess I've never watched a launch from the Bahamas, but I imagine you might be able to see it if it's super clear there.
Stage 2 LOX load is closed out. Falcon 9 is on internal power.
Dodge Dave is predicting a hold. No, we don't want to hold there, Dodge Dave. We don't want to hold. Usually get one big final vent here from the Falcon 9. That's probably it right there. Yep, there it is. That's the final liquid oxygen, final big liquid oxygen vent. And then we'll be pressing for flight here. Just about a minute, and I'm gonna try to stay quiet. Don't forget to look for the T tab, the green flash, just before the engines ignite. Right at the engine bell area. It's in startup now, meaning it's all autonomous here.
Go for launch.
So quiet. 20 seconds here.
Minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9 is at flight pressure.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion system on.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
We are 1 minute and 7 seconds into flight, and as you can see, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off. Coming up next, you'll hear max Q.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum dynamic pressure.
And as you just heard,
there.
the vehicle is experiencing maximum dynamic pressure. That's the point at which the stresses on the Falcon 9 are highest than they are at any other point during the flight.
And MECO should be, main engine cutoff, should be right about 2 minutes and 30 seconds here. That'll be the next
Everything is looking
big event.
nominal right now. Now coming up, you're going to have 3 events happening in rapid succession. The first is MECO, which stands for main engine cutoff. That is where all 9 of the Falcon 9 first stage engines will shut down. That'll be followed by stage separation. That's where stage 1 will separate from stage 2. And then we'll have SES1, or second engine start 1. That is where that MVAC engine, that Merlin vacuum engine on stage 2 is going to ignite and carry stage 2 onto orbit. We hear that MVAC chill is looking good. That's where we bleed a little bit of that super cold liquid oxygen into the engine.
So there's 2 different views. The view on the left is from the first stage looking back at the second stage. The view on the right is the second stage looking down at the first stage. So it's 2 cameras like
stage separation confirmed.
There you go. There's the green flash again, the Q10.
And as you can hear by the applause and see on your screen, we've had a successful stage separation and ignition of that second stage MVAC engine.
There's the grid fins.
Now coming up in about 25 seconds, we're going to have fairing deploy. So those fairing halves are going to split away from stage 2 and make their way down to Earth. And stage 2 will continue on with the Merah Putih satellite onto its parking orbit. MVAC D had a really solid startup, and all of the temperatures are looking really good. The burn is going nominally right now.
Yeah, so now we're, what is it? Fairing deployment there.
And as you just saw, we just had a successful separation of that fairing. Once we get into the vacuum of space, we don't need it anymore, so we get rid of that extra mass.
Second stage is following a nominal trajectory.
And as you just heard, second stage is on a nominal trajectory. Now, there are going to be 2 stage 2 burns for this mission. The first is this one that is taking the spacecraft to its parking orbit.
Acquisition of signal.
Once it shuts down, it'll coast for about 18 minutes before relighting over the equator to raise Merah Putih to its deployment orbit, the geostationary transfer orbit. Now, while stage 2 is doing its job, stage 1, it's making its way back home down to Earth. Now, it's going to execute 2 burns. The first is the entry burn, which is coming up in about 1 minute and 50 seconds. The first stage is traveling at roughly 2,300 meters per second. And what this 3-engine burn is going to do is assist gravity in rapidly slowing the stage down. If we didn't do that, it would overheat and it would break up. This slows it down and protects it as it enters the Earth's thicker upper atmosphere. Now, the second of those stage 1 burns is called the landing burn. This is a single engine burn where we light that center engine E9. and it brings the vehicle's velocity down rapidly from about 250 meters per second to about 2 meters per second in order to gently land the rocket on the drone ship. Now, stage 1 landing should occur just a second or two following second stage engine cutoff. So there's going to be a lot happening all at once, so watch closely for this next series of events.
Gregorius asked, are they trying to catch the fairing today? Nope, this is an East Coast
We're
launch.
about 50 seconds away from that entry burn, but just note that once we recover this booster, we plan to fly it a third time later this year. As mentioned before, this is possible due to those Block 5 upgrades, which brings SpaceX closer to its goal of full and rapid rocket reusability.
That'll be a big day. SpaceX has never flown a booster 3 times, so that'll be big when they do that later this year. But anyway, so I was saying no fairing recovery today. This is on the East Coast. They don't have a fairing recovery ship on the East Coast. They're not going to catch it. They will likely pick it up with their support ships, whatever's left of it, but they're not going to catch it with the Mr. Steven boat. That's only on the West Coast for those launches. But yeah, the first stage is on the left there. You can see some of the glow of the thrusters there.
Burn right now. On the right, MVAC continues to burn nominally, and there we go. That entry burn has started.
Stage 1 of the entry burn.
Yeah, generally for that entry burn, they only use 3 of the 9 Merlin engines there, so it's usually a 3-engine entry burn.
It is.
Stage 2 continues to follow a nominal trajectory.
So what you just heard there, stage 1 entry burn has concluded. Stage 2 is still looking beautifully. We're going to have that landing burn, that last and final burn on stage 1. It's going to begin at about a minute or so.
I like that look there.
And then, as I mentioned earlier, just a couple seconds after that, we're going to have SECO 1. Stands for second engine cut off 1.
Oh no, we lost the booster video. It happens very frequently. They lose video on the first stage. Hopefully we can see some sort of landing there, but it cut out. That happens more often than I like, but it is what it is. They are, recovering an orbital class booster here, so I guess I'll cut them a break on the video not being consistent.
Falcon 9 is in terminal guidance.
So while we may have lost the view of the drone ship, the view of stage 1, we did get the call out that stage 1 is transonic, and it's making its way on down to the drone ship right now. So hopefully we'll get that camera view back.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn has begun. Let's see what we get.
Is that it? This is a different view. There we go.
Stage 1.
So we lost the video right there, but hopefully we will get that back. Hopefully, but we have heard that we've had a successful second engine cutoff and that stage 2 is in a good orbit. Hopefully we can get a view on that drone ship if everything stabilizes, but if not, we'll give you an update on the status of the first stage once we get it. What we're hearing right now is that stage 2 is in a good orbit. It's in its nominal parking orbit. And so what we're going to do right now is we're going to take a little break. As you can hear, we got it.
All right.
Awesome. This is the second landing of this booster. Landed successfully on board. Of course, I still love you. It's a great shot right there. Meanwhile, second stage is in a good orbit, as I mentioned before. It's going to continue to coast, and we're going to take a little break here and come back at T+26 minutes for second stage relight and then deployment of the Merah Putih satellite.
Yeah, so while they take a break here, we're gonna switch over here. So this is that coast phase that that I was talking about earlier. Longer coast phase. We got about 20 minutes during this coast phase, so we got some time to talk. But one of the things I thought was kind of interesting is the camera on the drone ship. You saw initially it was pointed straight up, looking at the Falcon 9 coming down. We don't usually see that. Usually the camera is just pointed at the deck of the ship. But this was pointed straight up, and then they must have remotely pointed it down. That's kind of cool and interesting that they would do that, considering the video issues that they have with the drone ship when it's trying to come in. I wouldn't think that they'd want to be actively controlling it. Maybe it was an accident. Actively controlling it as the rocket was approaching, because you may lose connection and not be able to control your camera anymore unless it's controlled on board. I don't know. I have so many questions because that was different than what you normally see. But the good news is successful landing, second landing for this Block 5 booster. And then as she mentioned in the video, in their broadcast, they're going to try to reuse this a third time later this year. That'll be a big day because SpaceX they've not flown a booster 3 times. So let's see. Let me see what comments I missed. Let me scroll back here. Go back. Oh yeah, looks. Somebody said, who was that? Stubby said, looks like it hit dead center. It does look like the booster landed pretty much dead center in the ship. That's always nice. Stuck the landing. Yeah, Stubby said, LOL every time. The video cuts. The video does cut out every single time. Yeah, and Gregorius mentioned that they improved the camera on the ship. It can track the rocket now, but it still cuts off, which is unfortunate. Yeah, and it's just you know, they're trying to upload that video to satellite connections at the same time that rocket is coming in, so it loses that connection there, which is understandable, but frustrating when you're trying to watch it as a fan. So let's see. Is there a sonic boom when it comes into land? Yes, there is. There's actually 3 sonic booms when the Falcon 9 comes into land. So as it breaks that sound barrier coming as it's slowing down, the Falcon 9 gives off 3 sonic booms in quick succession. It's generally the engine bell, the landing legs, and then the grid fins. Each one of them gives off their own sonic boom, and you get 3 of them really quick. Usually it's ba ba ba. So you get 3 quick sonic booms. And in the case of Falcon Heavy, when you had two first stage boosters coming back and landing on land, you got 6 sonic booms. Ba ba boom, ba ba boom. As both first stage boosters were landing, which was amazing. That was crazy to see. But yeah, it's you definitely get 3 sonic booms as it comes into land there. Alex Ziggyful on YouTube says, I want Tori to wear a space helmet so he'll look like he's floating in space with the hashtag space lobster, digging the no background. Yeah, see, I like the no background, particularly when the SpaceX broadcast is going on. It feels a little more seamless, like I'm not, I can be in the way but not be in the way. I don't know. We're trying it. 3 is a magic number. I'm assuming you're talking about the third flight happening later this year for that Block 5 booster. Let's see. When is BFR lifting off? Well, they did say that that BFR could potentially start doing test flights in 2019. That seems really ambitious to me. That they're going to do test flights in 2019. That would be crazy. I would love to see it. I'd be super excited for it. I'm kind of skeptical as to whether or not that's actually going to happen. But we do have some of the crewed missions coming up. Sorry, I got a tickle in my throat here. Sorry, I'm having a coughing attack while I'm live streaming. That doesn't usually happen, but it has been a long day. Now my face is turning red from that. I was trying not to cough while I was talking. Whew. All right, now that we got past that, we get a drink in. All right, shall we continue? Let's see, what was I just talking about? Oh yeah, the BFR. So I'm not expecting to see BFR next year, but we'll see. That'd be fantastic. I would think it'd be more like 2020. We've also got crewed missions starting. We've got the crew, the DM1 flight happening in November. That's the uncrewed test flight for the Dragon 2 crew capsule. And then January 2019 is the first crewed mission scheduled for SpaceX. So that's pretty exciting. Let's see. Looks like Gregory says, looks like the Kerbal main menu with Earth in the background. Oh yeah, that background picture behind me, that is from Overlook Horizon 8. That's from one of our flights. You can see way over there on that side, on the other side of the mission patch, you can see remnants of the balloon burst. Actually, I can get rid of that. You can see that a little bit better, the balloon burst remnants there. But yeah, that's our photo from Overlook Horizon 8 in the background. Let's see. JT on Periscope says, I saw the first Falcon Heavy flight and it was awesome. I'm super jealous, JT. I really wanted to see that in person, but I did see it from my chair here and online, and that is how the Space Lobster was born. So it's tough to be too upset about only seeing it online, because otherwise we wouldn't have had the Space Lobster. So, let's see. Jack on YouTube says, before I feel nervous when SpaceX landing on the drone ship, but now it's fading away. Well, that's good news for SpaceX. I mean, I still get nervous, especially when you have firsts like this, like the first landing attempt of a reflown Block 5 booster. Still makes me a little bit nervous. You don't want anything to go wrong. You want everything to just go as planned. But it's good that those nerves are fading away, because it means that they're consistently nailing these landings, which is awesome for their costs and reusability, and the consistency there is super nice, because it's got to make for easier planning for them. Let's see. JT says, I'll definitely be there. Are you talking the next Falcon Heavy launch, or are you talking a crewed mission launch? Yeah, because we do have more. We got more Falcon Heavy coming up this fall. The demo missions for the Crew Dragon coming up this fall. So a lot coming up. Let's see. What else we got? Can't wait to watch the next Falcon Heavy launch. I know I'm super excited. I just want to fast forward to that part. Let's see. Alex Ziggyful on YouTube says, everybody like this video. Yeah, thanks, Alex. Appreciate it. Yeah, hit a little thumbs up, or if you're on Periscope, send some hearts over. That was always appreciated. Like to know that people are watching and are interested. What's up with Boring Blue Origin? What are they up to? Blue Origin is still actually making progress. They just did their launch escape, or their vehicle escape abort system test a couple weeks ago, and they're intending. So Blue Origin has a suborbital rocket. It's not an orbital class rocket right now, but their suborbital rocket is meant really for space tourism. They also fly some. Wow, look at all the hearts coming in on Periscope. Wow, thanks, guys. There's a lot coming in all of a sudden. Thanks, appreciate it. What was I saying? Oh, so Blue Origin, it's a suborbital rocket, mostly meant for space tourism, but they have been launching like some, I saw some like university experiments that they launched on some of their test flights. So there could potentially be some commercial payloads that go in on even the suborbital flights for Blue Origin, but they're pushing to do some, or start selling tickets for those beginning in 2019, which would be crazy. It would be interesting to see what they price those at and who's buying them and when those fly. But yeah, they're gonna be starting those space tourism flights. And then they do have their new Glenn orbital class booster that we don't have many developments for yet on that, but that's coming down the road for them as well. They are going to get into the orbital class boosters, and we'll see what happens with them. Let's see, what else did I miss here? Deborah says boring. LOL. I'm assuming you're talking about the Blue Origin. You're not interested. Not a Blue Origin fan, huh? When is it launching? Says Geo. I think, are you talking about the Falcon 9? Because if you're talking about the Falcon 9, you missed that part. We launched 20 minutes ago. Right now we're in a coast phase. We are waiting for the second stage to relight to actually put it into geostationary transfer orbit. So we're in coast phase now. Gregoria says it's good if they do. We need more. Oh wait, we need more tunneling companies. I must have missed a message. It sounds like you're talking about. Oh, I gotcha. The boring. Maybe that's what I was missing. That's what Gregoria said. Blue Origin is boring too. See, I missed the reference talking about the boring company, the Elon's boring company. I missed that reference for a minute there. Let's see. Steven So says, I love the green screen setup. Thanks, Steven. This is new for us, for me, the green screen setup here. Chroma keying out the background. I don't know. I like it. Haven't done that before, but it seems, I don't know. I seem to like it. I think I might do this more often. I used to just put myself in here in a box, but I think I like the no background look better, I think. So I think I'm going to stick with it this way. S. Davis, 1042 on Periscope. Did I miss the launch? You did miss the launch, but that's okay. We still got satellite deployment coming up in about 10 minutes. So about 10 minutes is when they'll deploy the satellite, and then we'll wrap up. So Gregorius says he likes the chroma key too. Looks good. It's more seamless now. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's a little more seamless, less intrusive of, you know, my big rectangular box just sitting in the middle of the SpaceX broadcast. So Whale says, do folks get blocked for saying this is fake? Not by me. I mean, you could say it's fake. I don't agree with you, but no, you can say it's fake if you want. Somebody else might block you, but let's see. Do you think if you start spamming my comments, then you might get blocked? But you can tell me it's fake. Do you think China is rushing too much to their reusable rockets, which caused them plenty of failed launches? I don't know. China's kind of weird in the rocket world. They do some really strange things, like launching rockets over populated areas and having boosters land in neighborhoods and explode with like super nasty, I think they have like hydrazine rockets, which is a really nasty fuel for humans, that is. But yeah, they do some really weird, and it's not like China doesn't have a coast that they can launch off of. They got a huge coast over the ocean that they can launch, but for some reason they launch inland, and I don't know, they keep crashing these boosters in the middle of neighborhoods. I don't know what's going on with China's program. That just seems crazy to me. But yeah, I guess that's my big issue with the Chinese space program right now, is watching them launch boosters and then crash into populated areas. Let's see. Sounds like everybody seems to like the chroma key and getting rid of the background. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I wasn't sure. You know, it's always tough with chroma key. Like sometimes it can look like hacky or tacky, or. But I think it looks all right. I think we did an all right job here. So let's see. Gregory says if China launches from the coast, they might hit Japan. Yeah, that's true. They might crash their boosters there instead. Let's see. So Junior says, what kind of orbit is this satellite being sent into? That's a good question, because we talked about it earlier, and I said I had a diagram, but I didn't show it. So this is going to geostationary transfer orbit. Let me show you my orbit diagram here. So when you initially launch, it puts it into parking orbit, which is the solid red line there. It's a low Earth circular orbit. And that's what we're in right now. We're in the parking orbit. And then in just a moment, they're going to restart the engines, and it's real quick. They're going to push this parking orbit into geostationary transfer orbit, which is the green elliptical line there. Actually, that should be coming up very short. What's the timeline on that? That relight should be happening at 26 minutes and 15 seconds. So it's coming up soon. You see a lot of ice particles from the liquid oxygen there. That's what's floating around there. But anyway, so SpaceX is going to put the satellite into geostationary transfer orbit. That's that green orbit. That's not the final orbit for this satellite. So they're going to. That's the end of SpaceX's portion of the mission. Is they're putting it there, and then the satellite itself will get itself into geostationary orbit. That's the dashed red line there. It sounds like they're back here. Let me switch over here.
Which will come on at T plus 26 minutes and 22 seconds. It's going to burn over Gabon for about a minute, followed by payload deployment about 4 minutes later.
About 15 seconds, they should be relighting the engines here.
So that burn should be starting in about 15 seconds.
There we go. There's the relight.
And as you just saw, we just had a successful reignition of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine.
This should be quick. It's only like a 1 minute.
Another 20 seconds or so.
Very, very quick burn.
Power is good. The temperatures are looking good. The burn is nominal. Hopefully we'll get that live image, but second engine shutdown 2 should be coming up very shortly.
Pretty much like right now.
MVAC shutdown.
There you go.
And we just had successful shutdown of MVAC. Let's wait to hear to see if we're in a good orbit.
Nominal orbit insertion for payload deployment.
Great,
Nominal
we are
orbital
in a
orbit
solid
insertion.
orbit. Now payload deploy will be coming up in just a few minutes here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a pause and then come back to see the live deployment of the Merah Putih satellite.
All right, so they're we'll come back to them again in just a minute here, but yeah, so we're talking about the orbit. So there's that diagram again, so you see what we're getting into. So now, right now, we are in that geostationary orbit. They coast for just a minute while they check things out, and then they'll actually sometimes they reorient the spacecraft, and then they will do that final separation with little springs that just gently push the payload or the satellite out away from the spacecraft there. So yeah, that's the green orbit is what we're in, and then the satellite itself will use its own onboard thrusting to get to geostationary orbit. So good question, whoever asked that, because I meant to show that earlier. We just didn't have time to get to it. So let's see. Mark Sullivan said, "My God, the heat from the engine bell must be incredible." Are you talking about me being next to the engine bell? It was feeling a little hot in here. I wasn't sure why it was getting so hot. Let's see. I saw a comment on Periscope that I wanted to go back to. Oh, JT said SpaceX is better than Blue Origin. I am a big SpaceX fan. Hard to argue with you there, but I'm also a space fan in general. So, I want to see Blue Origin succeed. I think if we have more and more launch providers, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Fishman705 on Periscope said, how many crew members will be launched? The Dragon capsule, they're going to fly 2 crew members per flight. on their upcoming missions. So the Boeing capsule, the CST-100 Starliner, they actually, one of their missions, they're flying 3 crew members, and another one they're going to fly 2 crew members. So just to get those up and running, but I think, I don't remember exactly, but the somebody know what the seating capacity is for the Dragon? I want to say it's like 5 or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember what the seating capacity is for the Crew Dragon. So, and Labilos gave me a super heart. Thanks, appreciate it. Let's see. What else did I miss for comments? How long would it take for a satellite to orbit around the sun? Well, I don't know how to answer that question. Really depends on what orbit they're in around the sun as far as how long it takes. Are you close to the sun? Are you far away? A lot of variation there.
Coming up in approximately 50 seconds. Now the payload is mounted to stage 2 on what we refer to as a payload adapter. And after the stage separation signal is sent, there is a spring-loaded band around the base of the satellite. What it'll do is it'll fire and open up, and then there are 4 compression springs inside the payload adapter that will gently push the Merah Putih satellite away from Falcon 9, and that spacecraft will continue on to its final destination in geostationary orbit. So payload separation should be in about 15 seconds. We'll be able to see it live, hopefully. And there you go. You can see the Merah Putih satellite just in front of you with the sun behind it, giving it a nice backlight.
Oh, there it goes.
And successful separation.
Payload separation confirmed.
You can see the thruster on the back of the satellite there.
Confirmed. You can see it.
In the middle of that yellow circle.
And with that brings Falcon 9's mission to a close today. And of course, that's the end of our webcast. So a great thanks to our customer, PT Telkom Indonesia, for entrusting us with tonight's mission. A thank you to satellite manufacturer SSL, the 45th Space Wing for providing range safety today, and to the FAA for licensing today's launch. We'd also like to thank all of our viewers for tuning into this late night or early morning launch, depending on where you are. And if you are excited about what you've seen here tonight and want to join us on our mission, please visit spacex.com/careers to check out our current list of job postings. You can also follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. But until next time, have a good night.
All right, so there's the end of that portion there. We'll stick around for a little bit here because I did promise some sneak peek footage from our flight earlier this morning. We'll take a look at that real quick. I'm pretty exhausted, so I gotta get to bed here soon. So we'll try to fly through it. But I see a whole bunch of saw a whole bunch of comments coming through. Some Dodge Dave said 6 on the seating capacity for the Crew Dragon. The Route 64 said, I think 5. Yeah, I thought maybe it was, I thought 5, but 6. I would believe Dodge Dave. He sounds pretty definitive about his 6. But I don't know the seating capacity off the top of my head. But will the manned launches land the same as this rocket did? I believe so. I think they're intending, because they're going to be Block 5 boosters that launch the Crew Dragon capsule. So I don't see why they wouldn't land them. There's no real safety issue as far as the landing goes. So I expect them to. What was the yellow ring? I don't. I'm not sure exactly what the specific yellow ring was on the back of the satellite, but inside the yellow ring was the actual the little engine bell or thruster nozzle for the satellite itself. It's too early to go to bed. Not for me. It's been a long day today. We had our flight earlier today. Now we got this flight. I've been up for almost 24 hours straight now. So yeah, I got to get to bed at some point. Oh, there you go. So we got another. Somebody said, I just checked on the Crew Dragon seating capacity. It says up to 7. All right, so we're getting even higher. I guess I'm going to have to look and find out. Sounds like up to 7 it could possibly be. Let's see. Eric missed it. Eric missed it. I arrived too late. That's all right. You can watch the replay. What else did I miss here on comments? The Earth is a satellite going around the sun. At this distance, it takes 365 days for one orbit. Oh, that's about the satellite orbiting around the sun. Right. Yeah, you're exactly right. The Earth is a satellite of the sun. So yeah, 365 days if you're orbiting at this distance. So yeah, there we go. Somebody said on Periscope, can we live on space? I'm assuming you mean in space. Well, we are living in space on the space station. We can't live in space without protection. We do need some protection from the elements, and you know, we need things like air to breathe and pressure for our body not to just explode. So yeah. And the route says, I guess it depends on cargo. Yeah, so it sounds like up to 7, but yeah, possibly the seats can be reconfigured if they need more or less cargo. David Robinson says 6 seats plus a child seat. Yeah, it's like a car seat you're putting in the Crew Dragon. Launch little Timmy up to the International Space Station. So let's see. Being new here, what flight capacities are you guys talking about? Talking about? I'm assuming you're talking about our flight. So we had our high altitude balloon flight. Good segue there, Todd Rogers. Except Gregorius says, but does the child fly for free? There's probably an age limit there where they can fly the Crew Dragon for free. Like kids under 2 fly the Crew Dragon for free. They get in for I don't. Oh man. And Gregorius also said, can't wait for the Parker probe launch. Still waiting for the James Webb Space Telescope. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Parker probe, that's coming up soon. That's this Saturday is the Parker probe. I'm pretty excited about that as well. So I promised you some footage of our flight here. Let me get before we wrap it up. We had our flight earlier. Let's see. This will take me just a second to. Where's my? I gotta get our videos up from our flight. So our high altitude balloon flight happened earlier today. We went up to 100,000 feet during our flight today. Let me get some video up so you can see it. I was super happy with the imagery that we captured during the flight today, and so of course I'm gonna share a little bit of a sneak preview here with you. So let's see. We've got here. What screen of mine is this going to open up on? We don't necessarily need sound. It's just all wind. Let's see. How do I make this minimal interface? There we go. So here's a little bit of sneak peek footage here from our flight earlier today. This is oh wait, I should. That's the preview screen. I should actually switch it to the full screen here so you can actually see what I'm doing. So yeah, there we go. That's what I was trying to share from you. This was a little bit, but crystal clear day today during our flight. You could see the Finger Lakes super well. So even I don't mind when there's some clouds in the air as long as you can see the ground a little bit, because when you get clouds like this, it looks, I don't know, I think it just adds to it a little bit. But we can go a little bit higher up here. We did get a little bit of the upper level winds were actually super strong, so we got a lot of spinning going on. Plus our space lobster friend, which we'll show you in a minute, made the payload a little bit lopsided, so he probably added and contributed to the spin a little bit as well. It probably didn't help things. But yeah, here we go. This is about max altitude. We only hit 100,000 feet today, which I was actually kind of disappointed at. I was expecting a lot closer to like 110,000, but it broke after about 100,000. A little bit disappointing to me, but look at that. You can see all the Finger Lakes there. Beautiful view. There's Lake Ontario up at the top. This is looking to the west right now. Now we're looking south. There's all the Finger Lakes. Looking east, coming back around, looking north. There's Lake Ontario, Rochester, New York, where we're from here. And so yeah, that's that was our flight. Let's see. I think this is the max altitude here. So yeah, that's what we had going on today. But what everybody really was interested to see was our friendly and brave space lobster that flew on board. He took off and he flew on board our flight here. This was him just shortly after takeoff here. He was a little bit bigger in the camera than I expected. When I was previewing it, he seemed to look a lot smaller, and then I got the full screen videos when I started. I was like, wow, he's big. But it seems to fit with the space lobster. He's dominating the landscape here, as most space lobsters do. I mean, obviously, if you're familiar with space lobsters, yeah. So let's see. Daniel says your lens is ridiculous. The curve goes convex and concave. Yeah, that is pretty typical for a wide-angle lens. It is a 170-degree wide-angle lens, so yeah, it can, if you're trying to look at the horizon, especially if you're trying to prove whether the Earth is flat or round, wide-angle lens is not the lens that you want to use for that. But we like the wide-angle lens, and particularly we like the camera itself. Actually, is more important to us because it interfaces so well with our flight computers. So yeah. Let's see, what if you put a small parachute on one side of the payload for stabilization? Well, for this flight, it wouldn't really work that well because you got to remember, we actually experienced a lot of the spinning up at the upper altitudes where there's just a tiny bit of atmosphere. Well, I don't know, I guess a tiny parachute could potentially do something, but it's very thin, so you're going to have minimal effects from it, but maybe enough. You're also having minimal effect from the wind pushing it around, but it's tough to, once it starts spinning, it's tough to get it to stop spinning. So let's see. Somebody said be a normal lens, please, for true view. We probably won't switch lenses, but so if you hate the lens, you're probably going to hate our videos because we like this lens. That's the one we're probably going to stick with for all of our flights for the foreseeable future. Can I buy a space balloon or whatever you use for this? You can buy them from us at overlookhorizon.com/shop. We sell balloons if you want to buy one. We also, this lobster here, our friendly space lobster, is being auctioned off. So if you want to actually own this exact space lobster, it is being auctioned off. Overlookhorizon.com/auction. This is we're a 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, and so this the auction winner will get themselves a one-of-a-kind space lobster that made it up to the edge of space at 100,000 feet, and also helps support our educational missions and objectives. And well, we're going to throw in some stickers and some cool things like that as well. So yeah, head over to overlookhorizon.com/auction if you want to try to take home the space lobster. The auction's going to run through the end of August, and there's been a bidding war on it. I'm going to warn you, there's a couple bidding wars going on. A lot of people want to get their hands on the space lobster. How much helium? Today we used about 145 cubic feet. I don't know what the conversion is there, but for what I remember, 145 cubic feet is about what we used today in our 1,500 gram balloon. I'm going to mix imperial and metric measurements there. Do you get the camera back on this balloon, or is it gone? Nope, we got the camera back. In fact, it is right here next to me. This is the camera from there. All the SD cards are laid out on the desk in front of me because I was literally just before we started the broadcast, I was getting all the videos saved to my computer before I forgot to do that. But the space lobster is, we'll bring it in here. It is, let's see, it is right here. This is going to screw with my chroma key, but there it is. This is what the setup looked like during the flight. So that's the space lobster right there. He's still attached. I have not detached him yet from his mount, but there's the space lobster hanging out from the flight. So that literally just happened today. I got home, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 hours ago. Still have barely decompressed from the recovery efforts, but there it is. JT said, how is the lobster still on it? Adhesive. Yeah, we had to do a couple things to get the lobster to stay. But yeah, there's some adhesive and glues that are holding that support rod that you see to the, oh, we ran out of video here. Here, let's go up a little bit higher. See the space lobster at some of the max altitude here. Actually, we'll go to this one. This is the highest one. This kind of spins around, so hopefully you don't get too dizzy. But yeah, so there's some adhesive holding that support rod, and then you can't really see it in the video, but there's on the back of the lobster's claw there's some adhesive holding him in place so he doesn't just spin around the rod there. So we tried to hide that, keep that out of camera view. But yeah, that's there's definitely some adhesive in use to keep him stable and in one place there. Is it still alive? I don't know, maybe. Yes, it is a very alive and very real plastic lobster. Let's see, what if space lobster came back to Earth super intelligent? Well, space lobster was already super intelligent, in my opinion, so I'm not sure if he could get any more intelligent than he already is, but it would be awesome if he maybe the cosmic radiation contributed or further increased his super intelligence. That would be pretty cool. Tesla sends a car, you guys send a crustacean. Yeah, why not? I think that's pretty comparable, right? Why a lobster? It's kind of a long story on why it's a lobster. I'm probably not going to explain the whole lobster thing right now, but it's a bit of an inside joke with our followers. If you want to get in on the inside joke, I would go to overlookhorizon.com/15. That's /15. That'll give you the description about today's flight, and there is a little paragraph write-up on where the space lobster originated from, how it came to be, and it came from, it has SpaceX origins. It all started with the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch exactly 6 months ago today, which I didn't do that on purpose, but the space lobster was born exactly 6 months ago today during the SpaceX Falcon Heavy launch, and we finally got around to launching the space lobster exactly 6 months later, which was kind of cool. Didn't do that on purpose, but somebody told me that today, which I think is kind of cool. Because a crab just wouldn't do. No, you got to go with the space lobster. What altitude was burst? Burst was at about 100,000 feet today, which was a little bit less than expected. I was expecting 110,000, but it burst early today, which is unfortunate. Next flight, Squidward. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up. We're gonna have to find out what we're gonna do for our next mascot. Probably the next mascot flight won't be until next summer, though. David in Nashville, how much higher is the space station? The space station is a lot higher. We are nowhere even close to the space station. I think the space station's like 200 and something miles up. This is like 20 miles up. So the space station is like at least 10 times higher than this. Let's see. Has anyone ever replaced space lobster with a live lobster to scare you? No, not yet, thankfully. Space lobster sure looks beautiful up there for sure. Let's see. Watching from Wichita, Kansas. Hello, Lisa Sparks from Wichita, Kansas. Thanks for joining us. So there's no dome? Nope, we didn't run into any dome up there. I knew it. Flying lobsters evolved to space lobsters. Yeah, you do have to be careful. They're out there. So yeah, the But yeah, our space lobster was did very well today. He had a rough landing here. Let me jump over to the landing segment. Actually, well, here, let's look at the before I jump to the landing. Can I? Of course, I don't have any controls. How do I? Where's my controls? Can I do that? There we go. There's my controls. So I can skip around. Balloon burst is up here somewhere. Or is it in the next video? Oh, maybe it's the next video. Guess it's the next one. Yeah, there it is. So, Space Lobster got quite the ride when the balloon actually burst today. He starts shaking and rattling and rolling like crazy. And on the way down, he was going nuts. And so our payloads, they spin quite a bit. But the Space Lobster got spinning faster than I've ever seen any of our payloads spin before, which was crazy. I mean, he started spinning at a really good clip, which is about, I'm going to start here pretty much right now. Like this, it's speeding up, it's getting faster and faster. I mean, I have never seen one of our payloads spin this fast before, which is crazy. I'm guessing, like, it's getting faster. I'm guessing that the Space Lobster being attached contributed to the spin rate here, but it is spinning so fast. This is crazy how fast it's spinning. I've never seen any of our payloads spin that fast before. I have no idea. I'm just assuming that the lopsided nature contributed to that. So, Alex Ziggyful said, "Get your hashtag Space Lobster stickers. A great memento of this flight, this auspicious flight here." Yeah, for sure. If you wanna get if you don't wanna get into the Space Lobster auction, if that's too far out of reach for you, you don't want to get into a bidding war, we do have Space Lobster mission patch stickers for sale at overlookhorizon.com/shop. So you can get an official Space Lobster mission patch sticker. So all right, this is making me dizzy here. Let's get to the landing, which is here. Let me get my controls back here, and we'll fast forward a little bit to the actual landing itself. So this is what took us so long today, trying to convince the lobster to come back to us today. It landed at 10 o'clock in the morning. We did not get it back until 7:30 in the evening. So it took us a long time to recover the Space Lobster. And this is why it was so close to landing in one of these beautiful fields, which would have made a nice quick recovery. Side note, while we're watching, let me see if it spins around here, but while you're watching here, this right here is my car. This is me sitting right here watching it. So I was right here when it landed, which is kind of cool. Our tracking systems all worked really well. Went up to 100,000 feet, and I was right there when it landed. So that's me watching it land in the tree. Anyways, so then here's our landing. Boom. Oh, I guess I probably could have turned on sound for that, but yeah, right there, you can see the field. It's like 10 feet away. We just barely missed the field. But that's where our Space Lobster ended up, and it took us a while to get him down because he was about 50 or 60 feet up there, which is not easy to get down from. So there it is. There's our Space Lobster extravaganza from our flight. And then I guess I could show you one other thing here before we let you go, or before you let me go, I guess. Because we did have so we looked at the one without the Space Lobster. We looked at the one with the Space Lobster, and then we also had a third camera on board. The third camera was our balloon burst camera. Oh, wow, that was a little bit too fast here. Let's back it up a little bit. So here's our third camera that was facing the balloon the entire time. That balloon gets to be about 35 or so feet in diameter, which is pretty huge. It looks a lot closer than it is, but it's actually 50 feet away from the camera. And then the actual burst event itself gets to be pretty violent. I was surprised at how early it burst today. It was supposed to go on for another 10 minutes, or I expected it to go on for another 10 minutes, but it burst about 10 minutes earlier than I expected it. Boom, there it is. And you can see it tumble around a little bit, and then this basically does this for the entire way down. So, so there it is. We've got, that's pretty much a, let's see, I'm going to switch my views here and make myself bigger. So there we are. That's what we have, what we had going on earlier today. I promised you a sneak peek look at our footage. So there we have it. That's the footage that we captured from today. Let's see. I missed a whole bunch of comments here. Let me back up and take a look. Oh wow, I missed a lot of comments. Somebody says this is all fake, and you're very fake. All right, it would actually probably be easier to fake it. I wish I faked it. I could have saved myself the trouble today. Would have been much easier to fake. Let's see. Funny that back then no one wants to eat lobsters. They were called sea cockroaches. Now it's an expensive delicacy. Yeah, that's. Let's see. We hit 124,000 feet at the GPSL. That's the Great Plains Super Launch this year. Wow, 124,000 feet. That's way higher than our personal record. Our personal record's only 112,000 feet, but our payload is pretty big. It's almost 4 pounds. It usually comes in right around like 3.5 pounds is our payload, because we got a lot of cameras. We've got 3 flight computers on there. 3 flight computers, 3 cameras, plus today we had the Space Lobster. So it makes it hard to get those super high altitudes. But yeah, good for you. That's Jim Emmert, 124,000 feet at the Great Plains Super Launch this year. That's impressive. One of these days we're going to try for a super high altitude. Let's see. We want to see the Space Lobster during the re-entry burn. Wondering if a Rose would come back in decent condition. That might be hard, just because during descent it rocks and rolls and swings and shakes, and so I would feel like the Rose petals would break off unless you did some like production magic, like use hairspray or something to stick them in place, or I don't know, you'd have to, you know, glue them in place. I don't know. You'd probably have to do something. I feel like just a generic Rose probably would fall apart during descent. Alex, oh yeah, get your Space Lobster stickers. We mentioned that. It took an hour. It took an hour for a Flat Earther to come in. Let's see. Probably not. It's akin to being free. In one flight, that lobster achieved mileage plus global services. Yeah, it must be a dizzy lobster for sure. Yeah, it was spinning like crazy on the way down. I can't believe how fast it was spinning. Looks like he's out of control. It definitely looked like he was out of control on the way down. How warm is it in space? Well, space itself is very cold. We get down to the lowest temperatures we reach and that we measure are about -60 Fahrenheit. So yeah, we get down pretty low in temperature. So one small step for a tasty treat. Can nobody let balloons go to space? Yeah, you can't really do a balloon in space because well, the balloon can't float to space because the whole science behind buoyancy is you need atmosphere in order for the balloon to be buoyant and keep going up. And so once you run out of atmosphere, you can't keep going up anymore. So that's kind of the whole buoyancy principle at some point, because that's the only thing that's really making the balloon defy gravity, is the fact that it's more buoyant than the atmosphere that's around it. So without the atmosphere, then you just got gravity pulling it back. Let's see. Love to see the super slow motion of the balloon pop. We're going to get some videos put together, and I'll get a super slow-mo video of that balloon pop out there. Let's see. The Root says Darn trees, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I hate tree landings. They're a huge pain. What data are you collecting from every flight? So we collect the same weather data that the National Weather Service collects. For the most part, it's wind speed, temperature, pressure, humidity, and then we actually have a whole host of stuff that we calculate as well, and that we store, like ascent rate, descent rate, some of the stuff that we use to build some of our software tools, like our landing prediction software and some cool stuff like that. So so we got a whole host of other things that we also collect too. But for the most part, the sciencey stuff that we collect is usually wind speed, temperature, pressure, humidity, and then we can use that to get the dew point. And there's a whole host of weather parameters and indices that you can then calculate based on the measurements that we took. So you can see, you know, what the likelihood of thunderstorms might be, or all kinds of stuff like that. So that was particularly violent, says the root. Yeah, that was definitely violent. I don't know why it was so violent today, but so why is it that the balloon burst where they also say a dome is? I'm just curious. I don't know. Why did they say the dome is where the balloon burst? I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question. I can't answer anything about the dome. Let's see. Man never went to the moon. Fact. All right, John. Noted. Great job. Thanks for the show. Have fun with the balloons. Thanks. Appreciate it. A suggestion. Is it possible for you to set up a Discord? I do actually have a Discord. I don't really know how to use Discord. I'm trying to use it more and more. We do have a Discord channel, believe it or not. I don't know how to use it though. And I don't think anybody knows it exists except for me. But there is a Discord channel out there. So yeah, there's that. Thanks for that. I got to learn more about. I got to get more into it. I'm working on it. Let's see. A place for us diehard trackers to chat while tracking the balloon. Yeah, that's, well, I do have. Yeah, there is one out there. I don't know how you find it. I got to work on that. But there is one out there. I set it up, but nobody's there except for me. How large is the space lobster? I think he's 11 inches in length. I don't know what the width is, but I think he's 11 inches in length. Hi from Los Angeles. Hello, GB Pampered Chef from Los Angeles. Would be cool if Elon Musk won the auction and sent the space lobster to the ISS. That would be pretty awesome. Somebody tell Elon Musk to bid on the space lobster. Mindset said, why are you lying? I don't know. What year is it? I'm not near a calendar. I don't know. I'll have to check my calendar. Oh, wow. What are we launching now? Well, we watched the SpaceX launch. That's what we were here for, is to watch the SpaceX launch. But I promised everybody earlier that we'd have a sneak peek of our footage. So we were watching a sneak peek of our footage from our flight earlier today. So I like this show. Do we get it daily? I would love to do it daily. I've got a daily regular job as a software engineer, so I don't do this daily. I generally do this during SpaceX launches. We'll have one during the ULA launch coming up, but I'm trying to do it more and more because I like this. I have fun, and now that I got this nice setup where I can put these cool backgrounds behind me, I feel like it makes me look like I know what I'm doing, kind of, right? All right. But thanks, Tom. I appreciate the kind words. I'm glad you like it. The Earth is a closed system. All right, got it. What's the progress with the Starlink satellites? They've got, they have authorization to start offering commercial services, but now they just got to build and launch more satellites in order to accomplish that, because it's just the 2 demo sats that are up there right now. So yeah, I think this is a little bit speculation. I don't know for sure, but I believe they're just in the building phase for more of those satellites to get them scheduled for launch and get them up there. So there we go. So we had a very eventful day today. Had a nice SpaceX launch. landing for SpaceX today. Another successful landing for them. The first successful second flight of a Block 5 booster today. That's pretty awesome, pretty exciting. Good to see them continually progressing there. It's just going to get better and better. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then we also had our flight today, which is a huge success. I was super excited about that once I finally got convinced the Space Lobster to get out of the tree. So that was the hard part, but we got him down. I convinced him to come down. I think we scared him a little bit. He wanted to stay up in the tree and didn't want to come home. He was afraid we were going to launch him back up in another balloon, but we got him home. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up here. I appreciate everybody hanging out here with me in the late night hours here. This was our Space Lobster after party from our launch earlier today. What if the balloon releases its air gas before bursting? Well, you can do that. Actually, a lot of NASA balloons do that. There's also Stanford has a whole special contraption to do that. But basically, you can get the what like Stanford will do or NASA will do is they control the altitude. They make it go up and down based on the gas that's in it. So you can only do that for so long. Like you can get it to rise in the atmosphere, and then once you get to the altitude that you want it to stay at, you release gas. But then the problem is, like when you go through heating and cooling cycles, you'll get more or less lift, so it'll kind of bob up and down. So usually you have a ballast system on board as well, and the balloon will start to come down, and you may have to drop ballast so it'll go back up, and then you get into this cycle of release gas, drop ballast, release gas, drop ballast, release gas. But that can go on for a while, sometimes not forever. They also have super pressure balloons, which are a little more rigid. Ours are latex balloons, but a super pressure balloon is meant to expand. Well, it's meant to just hold its shape. So as the pressure decreases, the helium starts to push out, but the super pressure balloon will hold its shape, so when it gets to a certain altitude, usually around like 60,000 feet, it will not expand, and so then the helium can't displace more air, so it stops rising in the atmosphere and it just floats at that altitude. So that's how super pressure balloons work. So the drop gas, those are usually referred to as zero pressure balloons. But yeah, it's been a long day for sure. But yeah, so we had some fun today. Glad SpaceX had a successful launch tonight. Super happy that you guys all hung out with me here tonight. I had some fun. I hope you guys had some fun with me as well. I'm sure we'll do this again. But don't forget, before I leave you, we got the Space Lobster auction going on. If you want to take home the Space Lobster, overlookhorizon.com/auction. If you want to get yourself a Space Lobster mission patch sticker, head to overlookhorizon.com/shop, and then the usual thing, do the whole follow and subscribe and all that kind of good stuff, because I like having you around. I want to see more of you, and hopefully you want to see more of me. So like the video, thumbs up, subscribe, do some hearts, whatever you feel, whatever's your thing. But anything you do, makes me feel like you like the show, and I like it. If you like it, that's my goal. I want you guys to have fun, because I have fun with it. I probably would have fun if it was just me talking by myself, but I have a lot more fun when you guys are here with me. So I appreciate it. So there we go. That's it. And there we go. All the hearts are flowing in on Periscope now. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I always like to see that. So there we go. Did I cover everything? Did I miss anything? I think we covered it all. I think we got it all. So our next live stream will be this Saturday for the Parker Solar Probe coming up. So we'll have Parker Solar Probe, which will be the fastest man-made object to leave Earth, I believe. Is that so? That'll be kind of exciting. So we got a ULA launch, and I'm going to throw a little teaser out there. We may have some surprises. I don't know if they'll be ready in time by Saturday, but we have some solar probe surprises at some point. I don't know if they'll be ready, but we might be able to talk about them at least on Saturday. So make sure you come join us on Saturday for the Parker Solar Probe. That's another really early morning one, though. So hopefully you'll join. I know it's going to be an early morning for me. So, all right. Well, that's going to do it for me. My name's Tori. This is Overlook Horizon, and we had some fun. So thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you guys all soon. We'll see you on the next one. All right. Thanks, guys. See ya.